is revealing that God is with us. He's for us. He came into the world as a carpenter from Nazareth, of all unpromising places. And he's helping us in all the ways we most need help. Right away, we see Jesus healing. We see him push back against the kingdom of darkness. And we'll look closely at a story about that in a minute. He's restoring, he is forgiving, he is saving. Mark says over and over that God's kingdom is here in the arrival of Jesus, and we need to respond ASAP. In your reading of chapters 4 and 5, you came across some teaching material in the form of parables, and you read some narrative accounts. The calming of the sea, the exorcism of the demoniac, and the double healing story about the woman and Jairus' daughter. I want to address one phrase in the parable section that is a bit confusing. Parables are, of course, always a bit open-ended. No matter how familiar we are with them, they continue to puzzle. We're not supposed to read them like an allegory where there are exact correlations we can make and be done. It's in the nature of a parable to keep us wondering, keep us attending and drawing closer. In fact, Jesus tells a parable about parables, about the condition of being deeply attentive and wanting to know more and receiving to the point of responding, or conversely, about being distracted or merely curious without commitment. It is the parable about the sower. The disciples are confused about it and ask him to explain, and he quotes from Isaiah, and this is the confusing part. They may indeed see, but not perceive, and may indeed hear, but not understand, lest they should turn and be forgiven. On first glance, it seems like saving truth is deliberately being withheld by God. But a closer reading points out a dynamic that these disciples were observing already. Some people were hearing Jesus and drawing closer to hear more. They were maybe puzzled, but the truth they were hearing caused them to ask questions, not just turn away. It caused them to engage with Jesus. And to those who did that, more was given. In fact, the teaching of Jesus was causing them to repent, to turn around and follow him. But those who couldn't be bothered, well, Jesus wasn't going to come after them and drill them on the lesson. Ignoring the message was an option, one that has sad consequences, but it was an option. And as people turned away from the truth, they became less and less sensitive to it, less interested, really. Well, this is a dynamic you might have observed in your own life. Maybe there was a time you just didn't want to hear what Jesus had to say. Maybe because it required something of you, something you were not ready to do. And conveniently, or seemingly so, as you stopped paying attention, well, the whole business faded away. Maybe your faith just seemed like a distant echo. Well, now I want to draw our focus to two narrative accounts: Jesus calming the storm and Jesus healing a man with a demon. First of all, Mark presents us with a world that is oppressed by spiritual forces of darkness. We became aware of that early on. Remember, Jesus was tempted by the devil. When Jesus calms the sea, he's not only demonstrating divine power in the context of nature. And by the way, power to speak to the sea and calm it was something only God does in the Old Testament. It was like Jesus putting down God's calling card. But also, the Jewish people understood the sea to be a hostile place, the realm of dubious evil power. The storm was not merely a neutral phenomenon of nature. It reflected the spiritual rebellion of creation. So when Jesus calms the storm, he is pushing against the oppressive powers that held even the natural world in bondage. And Jesus takes this further in the next chapter, when he commands a legion of evil spirits to come out of a man. The spirits go into a herd of pigs that are then drowned in the sea, which for some reason we always feel bad about. But this is a deliverance, of course, of one man, a healing story. But it also serves to show Jesus as rightful king, pushing back the oppressive forces and systems of darkness that rule the earth. And of course, the consequence of this deliverance is not only the man's sanity restored, but he is restored to his home, to his family, and to his friends. He's saved from terrible isolation, a theme you'll also detect in the next story. Enjoy the beautiful way that Mark has narrated the passage. Notice the details, and perhaps even imagine yourself in the scene as you prepare to discuss the gospel and how God is inviting you to respond to Jesus, his Son.